I have a theory. Tell me what you think. So there's energy on the planet, right? Um, there's energy that comes from the planet, and then there's also energy that comes from the cosmos, um, touching every living thing, including the planet itself. Um, the concept of hell comes from the fact that, like, if you are not in tune with your higher mind, that connects you to the cosmos, then you're predominantly tethered to the earth. And when I meditate, grounding is important because it tethers you to your home planet. It's your energy force. Um, it's also the thing that like keeps you from like keeps your mind from floating off into Delulu land. Um, and so once you leave your body, energetically, if you're not connected to the universe, you go into the earth. And the core of the planet is magma. Um, and it's hot. And so there's this kind of like visceral memory of going into this like heated place. I don't think that it's like painful or anything like that. It's just kind of like you're aware that it's hot. You just kind of like gently fall and then you're like redistributed back up. Um, I think that that's how it is for most people. I think that there is two main types of inheritance, like ancestral legacy, if you will. I think there is your earth-born legacy, and then there is your kind of like consciousness, your energetic, your celestial legacy that you inherit into your current meat suit. Um, I think that certain people, witches, for example, have done something that creates this like when I imagine it in my mind, it's kind of like if you think of this like genetic lineage going from generation to generation to generation. I imagine that there's this like sleeve that keeps it encapsulated, so that it doesn't just distribute, go down and they get redistributed however the planet deems necessary. Um, it maintains legacy usually through the matriarchal line. Even if you have boys, it's recessive, and then will blossom if they have a daughter or something like that. And like they might have some tendencies there, depending upon how the original spell was cast. Because this has got to be something that is created, um, somewhere down the line that like allowed this to maintain, allowed the genetic legacy and remembrance of power and energy wielding of the planet's energy to maintain. Because witches are like earthly magicians, um, and so they're energy wielders of like Earth's energy. That's why they're like weather witches or they're rock witches or like all the things. And so they're very like earthly. Um, and then you have an inheritance that is energetic. Energetic inheritance is part of your consciousness, but you don't like. For me, I couldn't unlock it until I had an awakening, and then I became aware of like my ancestors. I became aware of my um, energetic partnerships, that I have in the astral. Um, and so I think, like the energetic signature of your ancestors can exist there. But I think most of the ancestral powers, good and bad, come from your earthly domain. Like that's your genetic lineage, through your cells. But energetically, you're receiving a inheritance as well, and that inheritance can come from anywhere. It doesn't need to be genetic linked. It can come from another planet. It can come from another star system. It can come from an amalgamation of humans that have lived on this planet who ascended, and then kind of came together to make something else and then formed you, those types of things. And that's here, like that's your third eye. Your higher self is that. And you have to kind of meditate and go within so that you can access that information and access that lineage and that training that you also have. And so I think that that is why the concept of things like heaven and hell exist is not because they are actually rewards and punishments, but just like over time, kind of the concept became that, like, if you are not ascended, that you just kind of get recycled in the planet's energetic core and moved back out, which is what we do with our energy. Like when we're cord cutting with somebody, or when we're, like sloughing off a bad memory or bad vibe, we're basically like dropping it into the planet, and the planet just takes that energy and gives it back to who it belongs to. Like if there's somebody that's stuck on your mind and you're like, oh, I'm done, you drop it down the cord and it goes back to that person, right? Because anybody else's energy that's inside of you, or that's attached to you, doesn't feel good. It feels foreign. And so you have to like release it so that your own energy is the main energy inside your auric field, your electromagnetic field. But anyway, so that's my theory, is that heaven and hell don't technically exist. They're just metaphors for options of what happens when you die, of what happens to your energetic signature, that if it's not attached to something external or higher or ascended, it just gets recycled by the earth and it maintains itself here on the planet. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like better or worse or anything like that. It's just like, are you a local or are you from out of town? Right? Like there's not like a superiority associated with that, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's my theory.